If you don't want to end up like most people, broke, worried about money, and feeling trapped in the same boring cycle every day, you need to focus on just one thing: making your first $10,000. When I was 18 years old, I had zero money in my pocket and no fancy certificates or degrees. But you know what I did have? Big dreams. Instead of dreaming about making millions of dollars right away, I set myself a smaller goal that seemed more possible: making $10,000. Now, I'm a person who made millions of dollars all by myself. And let me tell you a secret: that first $10,000 was the hardest money I ever made in my life. But once I reached that goal, everything in my life changed completely. It wasn't just about having the money in my bank account. It was about proving to myself that making money is something you can learn to do, not just something that happens by accident or luck. Once I figured out how to make $10K one time, I knew I could do it over and over again. And then I could make it grow into real wealth. So if I had to start all over again with nothing and make that first $10,000, here is exactly how I would do it in 3 simple steps. Most people make earning money way more complicated than it needs to be. They jump into buying and selling digital coins because their friend made money doing it. Or they try day trading, which is like buying and selling stocks super fast because some person online promised it would make them rich quickly. The problem is that both of these ways need you to have tons of money to start with, plus you need to be really lucky. These are side jobs, and you should never think of them as your main way to make money. Instead, think of them as tools that can help you multiply the money you already have. When you're just starting out, you need something that doesn't cost much money to begin with and puts cash in your pocket every single day. When you remove all the confusing stuff, there are really only 4 ways to do this. I've tried all of these myself, and trust me, this choice is super important because some ways let you grow bigger while others keep you stuck at a small level. In the same way, some ways give you quick cash while others take more time before you start making money. Option 1 is selling services to people face-to-face. Look, you've probably heard of these jobs before, but I'm talking about things like helping people exercise, driving food to people's houses, walking dogs, doing people's nails, cutting hair, making videos, and so many more things. Even though these services sound really common and basic, they're actually one of the fastest ways to start making money. So don't ignore them because they let you get paid right away after you finish the job. It's also pretty cheap to get started. All you need is some skills and maybe a few tools, which means you can start working very quickly. If you choose to do this, then please don't waste time trying to build a fancy website, pay for ads, or make a cool logo. Just get out there and start. Find some customers who live near you, do the work for them, and get your money. I even did this when I was a teenager. I used to walk around neighborhoods where rich people lived and offer to wash their cars. I would look for houses with really neat and tidy gardens, but dirty cars sitting in the driveway. Now, this might sound weird to you, but I was guessing that if they cared so much about keeping their garden looking perfect, they would also want a nice, shiny car on their driveway to impress the neighbors. Because these kinds of services only work with the people who live near you, it meant sometimes I had lots of customers and sometimes I had almost none. Some months I was really busy, and others I could barely make any money at all. When I was busy, I could only work with one person at a time, which limited how much money I can make in one day. So, face-to-face services are great to start with, but you can quickly feel like they're stopping you from making more money. That brings me to option 2, which is selling things you make locally. This means selling things like cookies and cakes you bake at home, things you make with your hands, artwork you create, fresh fruits and vegetables you grow, and much more. This can be a great way to make money, but it's not something that happens overnight. Unlike services where you get paid as soon as you finish the job, selling things you make takes time to build up. I tried this using some of the money I made from washing cars. I bought some cheap model airplane parts, then spent time building each one really nicely, and then sold them to people at the remote control flying club that I went to on weekends. But I quickly realized I was putting in tons of work for very little money. This was hard for me to accept because I really loved building those model airplanes.
Most of the money I made was being eaten up by what I had to pay for the materials to build them. And on top of that, there weren't very many people who wanted to buy them. There just weren't enough people willing to pay what I needed to make it worth spending my time on. So, selling things you make locally can be fun, and it's definitely worth it if you want to make some money from something you already love doing. Option 3 is selling things to people all over the world. This includes starting your own clothing company, dropshipping, buying and selling sneakers for more money, print on demand, and so much more. Unlike face-to-face services or things you sell locally, selling to the whole world means you can reach way more customers, which gives you more chances to make money. You're not limited to just the people in your town or city. Anyone, anywhere can buy from you. I was so excited about launching my own products that people all over the world could buy. I even flew all the way to China to partner with a factory to make my model airplane designs and sell them everywhere.
Of course, you don't have to do this if you choose to go the dropshipping route or a print-on-demand route. However, these options weren't really available when I was starting out. If I'm being honest, things started off pretty slowly for me because I had to keep taking the money I made and putting it back into buying new products to sell. Every time I sold something, I needed to invest more money. Once I sold 10 items, I then needed to buy 20 more to keep up with demand. Instead of keeping the profits in my pocket, my money kept getting stuck in this endless cycle of buying more stuff to sell. In the end, was it worth it? Absolutely. However, you should only do this if you have the patience to wait 1 to 3 months for everything to really start working well. So when this is up and running properly, it is probably the most hands-off, lazy way to make money that actually works. So that brings us to option 4, which is selling services online. This option wasn't actually possible for me when I was younger, but this is such a huge advantage nowadays. There are so many different online services you can offer these days. These include writing sales copy, editing videos, designing thumbnails, running ads for businesses, managing social media accounts, and the list goes on and on. Selling online services actually combines the two biggest benefits from face-to-face services and selling products globally. This is because you get to reach customers all over the world, but you also get the high profit margins that come with services. With products, you might make 20 to 30 cents profit for every dollar you earn. That needs to be put back into buying more products. With services, you're looking at 70 to 80 cents profit for every dollar you earn that goes straight into your pocket. Plus, you can start making money from day one.
Look, all of these are fantastic ways to make $10,000 as a student, especially these last two options. However, if I wanted to start making money as fast as possible, then I'd go with option 4, selling online services. So now we need to figure out exactly what online service you should offer. So start by asking yourself 3 questions. What are you really good at? What do you enjoy learning about? And what problems do businesses always struggle with? The perfect spot is where your answers to all 3 questions meet. Most people get stuck at this stage because they spend months or even years trying to become perfect at their skill before offering it to anyone. That is totally backwards. You need to start getting real experience as quickly as possible. So start by setting your prices lower than what other people normally charge. Your main goal here is to earn money and learn at the same time. Now, let's take this one step further. This is the skill pyramid, made up of 4 parts that when you master them all together, transform a high-income skill into a $10,000 income. Miss just one part and you'll stay stuck at the bottom, working really hard but never breaking through to success. Part 1 is positioning. You see, not all online services are the same when it comes to making money. The real money is in offering to help businesses make more money. That's because businesses think about money very differently than regular people do. When a business is making $50,000 every month, spending $2,000 to solve a problem isn't a big deal as long as it helps them make more money. And trust me, they have lots of these problems. They need more customers, they need better systems to run their business, they need to stand out from their competition, and they need to turn more potential customers into actual paying customers. These problems never go away, and businesses are always willing to pay money to solve them. On top of this, some types of businesses simply have more money to spend than others.
And if you think about how you can reposition yourself, you'll start making real money faster. Here are some ideas to get your brain thinking. Instead of being a video editor for small YouTubers, you could edit videos for a business owner who sells a product. If you make random thumbnails for clients, you could instead aim to become the main designer for a creator who already has lots of followers. And if you're a copywriter, don't write cheap articles. Instead, focus on improving the pages where people buy things. This isn't about learning more skills. It's about putting yourself where the money is being made. Part 2 is leverage. You'll never make $10,000 without using leverage, which means getting more value over time. Businesses don't pay you for how hard you work. They pay you for the results you give them. If you stop charging for the hours you work and instead charge for the return on investment you provide, you'll instantly make more money. Let's say you choose to run Facebook ads for businesses. If you charge per hour, you're stuck with a fixed rate, and the client will always want to keep your hours low. But if you charge based on the money you bring in for the business, suddenly they're not thinking about cost, they're thinking about profit. And when they see that your work is directly making them money, they'll happily pay you more for it. The same goes for if you decide to offer social media management. If you just schedule posts and reply to comments, you can easily be replaced by someone else. But if you can prove that your strategy is bringing in more engagement, more leads, and more sales, you become a valuable asset, not just an expense. Trust me, the moment you shift your pitch from what you do to what they gain, you'll find a lot of people are suddenly willing to pay a lot more money.
Part 3 is reach. One of the biggest mistakes people make when starting out is thinking they always have to chase after clients, but that's not how the game should be played. Right from the start, you need to be thinking about how to make clients come to you instead. Recently, I was looking for a graphic designer for a specific task, making movie-style posters. So the first thing I did was look on TikTok for people who made these kinds of designs, and one person dominated all the search results. So I reached out to him and asked him what his prices were. He told me he was just posting some of his designs for fun on TikTok. He wasn't even doing it as a side job to make money, so he politely said no thanks. However, his videos kept growing in popularity and his inbox was flooded with direct messages from people asking to work with him. A few weeks later, he reached back out to me asking how to start getting paid for his work. I helped him start up a proper business, and now he works for me and many other clients. This goes to show that you should always be putting your work out there online, even if you're just starting out or just doing something because you enjoy it. You never know what opportunities might come from it. So if you edit videos, show before and after clips to highlight how much better your edits make the content look. If you design thumbnails, explain why your design got more clicks than the old one. And if you are learning social media, document how you are growing an account from 0 followers.
Part 4 is automation. 95% of people who try to start a side hustle or business fail before they even really get going. Here's why. After working with countless copywriters, thumbnail designers, web developers, and video editors, I can tell you that 95% of them promise to deliver their work on time, then completely miss their deadlines. The thing that will make you stand out the most isn't talent or being charming, it's being reliable and dependable. And overlooking this is the biggest mistake young people make when starting out. The people I've ended up paying thousands of dollars to aren't always the best at what they do, but they're the most organized and professional. They never miss deadlines, they always communicate clearly, and they make working with them effortless and easy. So take it from me. Being good at what you do is one thing, but being reliable is what gets you paid again and again and again. So how do you do this? Well, the most successful people I know don't rely on their memory or messy notes gathered everywhere. They use automation and systems. And if you're thinking about making money online, you need something to help you keep track of everything that's going on. That's why I recommend using a CRM system, which stands for Customer Relationship Management. Odoo CRM is great for this. It helps you remember who you talk to, what they wanted from you, and what you need to do next for them. Instead of scrolling through emails or direct messages trying to find what the client said, everything is organized in one place. I mean, you can see all your opportunities with this call board, which helps you see how much money you expect to make at each stage, so you know where to focus your efforts. You can also use it to schedule calls and meetings without any hassle.
Plus, with your emails, notes, and files all in one place, staying organized is very easy and simple.
You can use it to easily track your clients and projects so you never miss a deadline or forget about something important. You can set reminders to follow up with people so you always look professional and on top of things. At the end of the day, clients don't just want someone who has skills, they want someone they can count on and trust. As I was planning on talking about them anyway, I reached out to Odoo to see if they wanted to sponsor this portion of the video, and they agreed. They also offer your first application completely free with unlimited support and hosting, so if that interests you, I'll drop a link in the description. I don't care how much money you make every month. Until you see at least $1 million sitting in your bank account, you shouldn't be wasting your money on stupid stuff. The fancy sports cars, the expensive designer clothes, the expensive nights out with friends, none of it matters unless you can turn your income into long-term wealth that lasts. People who are just rich see their income as something to spend and blow through. But people who are truly wealthy use their income to make even more money. So how do you do this? Well, you need to start investing your money. In front of me, I've got a risk scale, and I'm going to walk you through the 4 key areas where I put my money, starting from the safest investments all the way up to the highest risk plays. Remember, I'm not a financial advisor who gives official money advice. I'm just sharing what's worked for me over the years. Let's kick this off with my high-interest savings account. They call it a high-interest savings account, but honestly, at 3% interest, I have no idea how they get away with that name. Now, sure, you can find better rates if you're willing to lock your money away for a set period of time or agree to strict deposit limits each month, but I don't want my savings held hostage by the bank. I want access to my money when I need it, not stuck behind some silly rule that says I can only withdraw money on the first Tuesday of every leap year.
And I know what some of you are thinking. Mark, this isn't really investing. This is just holding cash in a bank account. And yeah, you've got a point there. But having some cash sitting on the sidelines means you're not forced to sell your investments at the wrong time. Imagine the stock market crashes and you suddenly need money for an emergency. If you don't have cash saved up, you'll have no choice but to sell your stocks at a loss. And that's the fastest way to lock in a really bad financial decision. A high-interest savings account is like your financial safety net. It's not about making big returns on your money. It's about having a buffer so that when life throws unexpected expenses at you, you are covered without wrecking your long-term investments. Investment 2 is index funds. Have you ever heard the saying, it only takes the price of a coffee a day to become a millionaire? Well, that's thanks to index funds and ETFs. I made a lot of money from simple long-term index fund investing, and as an added benefit, it's extremely low maintenance and easy to manage. There are tons of different index funds and ETFs out there, but the most popular buzzword, of course, is the S&P 500. This is 503 of the top publicly traded companies in America, all packed into one easy investment. Even though this is the biggest index fund in my portfolio by percentage, I do also invest money into a total stock market fund. The best one I've found for US investors is the VTSAX, and for the UK people, it's the VWRL ETF. Additionally, I think it's important to have some money invested in an emerging market index fund. The best one I've found in the USA is the VWO, and in the UK is the VEF ETF. But there are lots of other emerging market funds available out there, so it's worth having a bit of a look around to see what's available.
If all those index fund names made your eyes glaze over and get confused, then here's an awesome fact to wake you up. The average return of the S&P 500 over the last 10 years has been over 10% per year. This means if you invest just $5 instead of buying a coffee every single day, from the age of 18 to 67 and achieve the same return, then you'd retire with over $1 million in your account. And if you don't want to wait until you're 67 years old, just invest more money each day. That's what I've done for many years, and it's worked really well for me. Investment 3 is individual stocks. Now this is where things get exciting and fun. Individual stocks can be a great way to start investing, especially when you only have smaller amounts of money to work with. They allow you to get hands-on experience with the stock market in a way that index funds don't really give you. When I first started investing, I really enjoyed picking individual stocks and learning how to read company financial statements. Honestly, if I hadn't actually invested my own real money, I doubt I'd ever have been motivated enough to understand how it all worked. That's why when you're starting out, individual stocks can feel more engaging and interesting. Of course, they also come with higher risk of losing money,
But if you're only investing a small amount, it can be a useful way to learn how the market moves without putting too much money at stake. Another big advantage is that you get direct exposure to specific companies that you believe in. With index funds, even if a company is performing incredibly well, it may only make up a small part of your total portfolio.
With individual stocks, you get to experience those gains more directly and feel the full impact. But of course, this means more ups and downs in your account balance, which is something to keep in mind. By the way, Trading 212 are currently giving away a free fractional share worth up to £200 when you use the code at Tilbury and fund your account. So if you want to pick that up, I'll leave the link in the description below. Investment 4 is cryptocurrency. When Bitcoin first came out in 2009, I, like a lot of people, just assumed it was a scam or fake money. I was used to investing in real, tangible assets like property and stocks, things backed by actual companies that you could touch and see. The idea of some digital currency with no one in charge seemed way too risky and weird. But as time went on, I started paying more attention to what was happening. By early 2019, I decided to dip my toes in the water and try it out. And over the last few years, I've been steadily buying more Bitcoin and Ethereum, which are the two biggest cryptocurrencies. Looking back, it's been a solid move, and it's made me a decent amount of money. Now, I won't deny that smaller altcoins and meme coins can make people crazy returns that seem impossible. But they're also way riskier and more likely to lose all your money just as fast as they made it. These days, I'd say I'm a lot more optimistic about crypto than I used to be, but I'm still playing it smart. I'm building my position slowly, dollar cost averaging, and making sure I'm just not jumping in at bad prices. Of course, crypto is super volatile and unpredictable, and unlike any other investment, it carries unique risks that are hard to predict. That's why it's important to do your own research and only invest what you can afford to lose completely. If you're ready to learn how to invest in everything I just talked about, then I'll leave that video right up there for you to watch. But don't click on it just yet. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you want to grow your wealth and learn more about money, okay? I'll see you over there in the next video.